going on? The war in Lebanon has intensified. They're shooting like 25, 30 missiles a day, or shoulder-fired rockets, combined things, drones, whatever. And they normally just land right at the border between Israel and Lebanon. And the border is almost completely evacuated. And they occasionally, hurt or wound a soldier. And the Gaza war is continuing. They're telling us that it's almost half over. It's day 82 or 83 or something. And it's almost half over, they're telling us, almost half over. What all they got in store, I don't know. I have a feeling they're going to start flooding whatever's left of the tunnels. And they're fighting in the south of Gaza where they evacuated the people from, and they're fighting in refugee camps. And we're taking more casualties than ever before. It's believed that the airstrikes have been reduced, and the soldiers are not, when they spot the enemy, they call in an airstrike, and the airstrikes have been reduced, probably due to Biden and civilian casualties. So the IDF is taking more casualties, which stinks. And the Knesset is upset about that a lot. They're switching to America. Things came across my attention today that are pretty, I don't want to say scary, it's prophecy being fulfilled, the snare on America. In the month of November, 242,000 so-called illegal, what they call illegal immigrants, they cross the border illegally. Then they show up at Customs and Border Enforcement, and they declare themselves to be amnesty seekers. While they're in Mexico, they get all the papers prepared for them. And they go into America, and they get processed, and then they get released because now they're, so to speak, they're legally, and they have a court date. And right now they're giving out court dates of the year 2031. The other day, 8,000 came in one day, 8,000 immigrants. Now, the reason for that is supposed to be Blinken is scheduled to go to visit the president of Mexico, and the thought is that he's going to try to get Mexico to cut down on the flow of illegal immigrants, but we don't know what's really going on. That's the story we're hearing in the media, not from the government. It I'm sure has something to do with the immigration, but how bad they want to stop it, I don't know. If Biden wanted to stop it, all he has to do is start making the amnesty program more realistic. Now, there was some pictures shown of people crossing on that day that 8,000 went in. Now, you got to remember that 8,000 times 30 is 250,000, and that's what happened in November, roughly 242,000. Okay? Now, December is going to be higher. All right? The ATF, which is I believe they're part of the justice system now, I'm not sure. They used to be Treasury, they may still be Treasury. They're under the direction of the Biden administration for sure. They told Chief, stop it, no. They told Chief, no. They told the gun stores probably close to 2 weeks ago, 10 days ago, that they could sell guns to these people that have filed for amnesty, and they're exempt from the criminal records check because they have nothing on these people. And that's scary that's going on. And the ATF didn't do that on their own. They were directed by the administration and control of the White House, obviously, So these people, some guy studied. The government has a small charter airline they use to take these people that cross the border and then file for amnesty. The border crossing is normally illegal, but when you're dealing with amnesty, they could say, "Well, I can't process in Mexico. I'm afraid they'll send me back or whatever." So it's its own little world. Usually, it's a very rarely used form of immigration, very rarely. Um, and they usually, vet it quite carefully. They don't just normally before Biden, they wouldn't let people just show up and in droves every day and say we're amnesty seekers and just take a little bit of time and process them, hours probably, and then send them on their way and tell them to show up in court in the year 2031. So they basically could stay here till then. They're being given housing. People are saying, now I don't know if this is true, but the sources are quite good, that they're giving them $5,000 each. And they're providing housing. They're providing transportation to move them all over the United States. So in the year 2023, which is not yet over, they're calculating that Swift Air, which is the charter airlines that is contracting to the government to move these amnesty illegal, whatever you want to call them, people that are coming into the country, which are the vast majority. They say 70%, but in some videos it looks even higher. They're telling them, they're flying them into different parts of the country. So just Swift Air moved about 1.2 million of these, they call them illegal aliens. They enter the country illegally and then they sort of become legal, I suppose. They are being moved over to the United States. So 1.2 million just from Swift Air. Now they also buy people plane tickets on Delta, United, and the conventional airlines. So we really don't know how many there really are. Now, how many came in with these open borders and just never reported to Border Patrol? Just went about their merry way and got lost in America. We don't know. And they're also being transported by buses and trains. So some people are saying the low figures that I'm getting is around 2 million people like this are in the United States, and the FBI is freaking out with terror alerts to say there's never been any, the highest ever in their history. So other people are saying it's probably more like 4 million. When you look at the pictures, they have videos of them crossing into America. You see they're almost all military-age males. Now there's such a thing as military-age females, too. Most of the militaries around the world have females in the Army and the Marines and the Navy and the Air Force, and that could also be the case. I do not know. What you're not seeing is a lot of grandma, grandpa, mommy and daddy, and 2, 3 small kids. We're not seeing that. Okay. These people could build armies in America. Okay. Now you got to take the 70 million figure, the 70% figure of military age males. If you apply it to 2 million, you got basically 700,000 times 2, or 1.4 million, which is rough cut, close to the size of the entire United States military. Navy, Coast Guard, Marines, Army, Air Force. If you use the higher figure, You got 700,000 times 70% of 4 million. You got 700,000 times 4. You got 2.8 million. That's, you know, the size, one of the, I mean, my gosh, the armies of the world rarely ever have that size. Maybe China does, Russia doesn't. It's huge. They could form divisions, they could form battalions. They could go and hit military bases and take them over. And then they would have tanks, aircraft, helicopters, if they have pilots, I don't know. They could just destroy the military bases. Forget taking rifles and stuff. They could get missiles, shoulder fired, all kinds of shoulder fired missiles, grenade launchers, mortars, all kinds of squad machine guns, you know, on bipods and tripods, armored personnel carriers, armored Humvees, tanks. It's really reached an incredible level. Now, the government, the Biden administration government, has scattered these people all around the country. Hypothetically, if Trump became president tomorrow, just telling a story, and don't expect anything like this to happen, and he started going after these illegals, and there was somewhere between 2 and 4 million scattered around the United States. You know, they're probably in 50, 60 cities, 100 cities, whatever. It would take Trump more than a 4-year term of office. And he probably would only get a fraction of them. Maybe he'd get a third or something. And, you know, we have all sorts of legal issues like cancel their amnesty and, you know, all kinds of, you know, which would be not correct. And you have to just do it. They'd have to have a cause. You know, I don't want to get into it. I'm just giving you a hypothetical story. So there's so many things they could do, but this is the snare. And they're paving the way for the Jeremiah 50-51 invasion and the daughter of Babylon. That's what they're doing. And they could take over military bases. If this administration is letting them buy guns, I don't know what else would happen. So they get housing. I'm reasonably sure they get food stamps. They probably get Medicaid. You know, they just process into welfare. And they get housing. If they want it, they get it. And then they could get, you know, a welfare check. They'd get an EBT card to get groceries. They'd have Medicaid to get medical. They'd have money in their pocket. They also give them a cell phone. So now they have comms, communications. Guys, this is really something. And if you don't know your scriptures and you don't understand Jeremiah 15:51 and the snare, you should get on my YouTube and go into the live section and start listening to a lot of my videos, because it's a lot more lengthy than to do it here. The Houthis are not backing down. They're continuing their madness. They've yesterday fired at the Dwight D. Eisenhower aircraft carrier strike group. If they do that, they'll cut those internet lines, which I believe also are the SWIFT banking lines that the banks use to send money from one country to another. I believe it's one and the same. I covered that this morning in the broadcast. Sheer terror and chaos will result when the internet lines go and the SWIFT banking things go. Currencies may collapse. The cryptocurrencies will become worthless. They'll stop trading. I don't know how it will affect the stock market. I think much, because many of the people trade using the internet. to put in buy and sell orders and stuff like that. They may suspend trading for who knows when they'll turn it back on. The cryptocurrencies will plunge. It could be reach insane levels. They plan on cutting the Gibraltar Straits off from traffic unless you're a friend of theirs. Using Morocco, Iran troops are already in Morocco, in the south. It's easy to do that with that pincher point. The Houthis are cutting Red Sea traffic. And Iran, some point, goes and does the Persian Gulf. You won't believe what happened, not just to America, but to much of the world. Much of the world. You know? So it's coming. Getting close to the second Exodus. There is a lot of pressure on Texas to close the Texas border. I think you'll see several of these states like Arizona, Texas, that have the border with Mexico. Not California, though. California's probably going to keep letting this go on, so they could always enter California and then go elsewhere. So it's going to only, pinch it. It's going to pinch the pipeline. It's not going to cut it off. So if Texas goes and shuts the border, he's defying Biden and the federal government, and they won't like that. And that'll put them at odds with each other, and then the Texas governor says, we're not going to back off on this, and then Biden will start, I don't know, arrest warrants or whatever. And they'll go to the state legislature with an emergency session and secede from the union. Then sheer chaos happens, because Biden will never allow that. And then other states may join in. There's states that are not on the border that are getting wrecked with this immigration. New York City is moaning and groaning. They got so many there. And I'm sure there's probably many other cities and counties and states that have had it. And they'll join the states that are succeeding. And that gives you the rule of fighting ruler in Jeremiah 50:51. And then you read the scripture, those of you that survived the sword, let Zion come to mind. And that's the second Exodus. So it's reached a level of stranger than fiction. This is the snare, Jeremiah 50, verse 24. God's saying, America, the daughter of Babylon's in a snare. They're not getting out, and the snare is tightening and tightening. The figures of how many of these immigrants that are pushing for amnesty came into the country in December will be revealed sometime in January, and I expect it'll probably be higher than what happened in November. 242,000, that's 8,000 a day, roughly. No, that would be, that's about right. So it's not 1,300 a day, it's much higher. So the figure could even be more than 4 million there, because this has been going on for what, 2+ years? We don't know what the number is. It could be 5 million, 6 million. They could form brigades, divisions. I mean, what the heck? It's just, it's reached stranger than fiction proportions. So you best start studying your Bible prophecy, not the junk the churches feed you, the real Bible, like right out of your Bible. And everything I do on my website has the scriptures right there. Okay? I don't do junk like say, well, he'll deliver us from the wrath to come, so that means we're going to be raptured up out of here before the trouble. Well, the trouble's here and there's no rapture. It's nonsense. That, in John 6:39, 40, 44, and 54, Yeshua told them when the rapture was. He says, all that the Father gave me, I will not lose, no one will take them out of my hand. and I will raise him up at the last day. The last day means there's no more days. It's after the millennium is over, when Satan's released, surrounds Jerusalem, the New Jerusalem, and Father God from heaven, Jehovah sends fire down, burns the whole universe up. That's why you meet him in the air. And you go up on the clouds of heaven to spend eternity with him in the heavens. The last day, there are no more days. It's very simple. Yeshua said it 4 times, and there's no left behind rapture. He said everybody that the Father gave him goes up on the same day. On the same day. There's no left behind rapture in the Bible. You can't find it. Okay? It's like if you ask me deep, someone says that, let me think of something absurd, like Donald Duck is one of the 2 witnesses or something stupid. I'm just taking an idiot example, Well, you can't find Donald Duck in the Bible, so how am I going to rebuke it, So you can't find the pre-trib rapture and left behind raptures in the Bible, so how can you rebuke it? The only way is what I just did. I told you very clear and plain with Scripture when Yeshua said it would happen. They don't teach that there's the appearing of the Son of Man, which is different than the second coming in Revelation 19. It's absurd, but what's going on with America right now is just, it's reached a level. If Biden closed the border tonight, it's too late. The cow has left the barn. It's too late. It's over. It's over. The Houthis said they're going to cut those cables, which run right by Yemen in the south and the west. Right next to Yemen. All they got to do is send divers out with air tanks, face masks, and a hatchet. Literally, it's all he needs is a hatchet. They'd probably use something more sophisticated. And they'll probably cut it in 2 or 3 places. And then if they have ships to repair these cables, when the ships show up, they'll shoot the ships with drones, rockets, missiles, anything. The American ships are very good at shooting down drones and missiles. They're excellent. But there's no such thing as 100% of the time. When you're dealing with mechanical stuff like this, it never works 100% of the time. It just doesn't do that. Okay? So if it works 90% of the time, it's fantastically effective. But if they shoot, 100 missiles, 10 will get in. If they're 95%, so 5 will get in or something. You know what I'm saying? Or 2 will get in. And eventually they'll sink an American warship. And then Biden's going to go to Congress and invade the Houthis. Or they'll sink 2 ships. And, they've already destroyed maritime vessels. These people are not operating with any fear. If they attacked the Dwight D. Eisenhower aircraft carrier group, destroyers, missile cruisers, and the aircraft carrier, they weren't successful. But it was like 12 drones, 3 anti-ship missiles, and 2 other kinds of missiles. They weren't playing footsie. And they admitted they did it. They shot at it. Anybody that'll do that will cut the internet cables. And they already said they know where they are, and they're going to cut them. Because of the Red Sea, Israel opened up a land route. They made a deal with the UAE, which is by the Persian Gulf, by the Sea of Oman, where the Persian Gulf dumps into the ocean, you could say. So their ports are not affected by the Red Sea Houthis. And they've got, let me think I get the country straight. It's UAE, Saudi Arabia, Jordan, Israel, and Egypt involved in this. So they're going to have a land border with trucks. How much time will it take them to set that up? Count the days on your hands, kids. The roads are there. So ships can land in Haifa, Israel. Offload containers onto trucks hit highways, and they would go from Israel to Jordan to Saudi Arabia to UAE, and then they could get back on a boat again at the UAE. Cargo could come into the UAE, offload, get on a truck, and then go from UAE to Saudi Arabia to Jordan. I gotta get in my head right. Okay, it's late here, to Jordan, and then into Israel. Or they also have Egypt's involved in this too. So they'll use the Mediterranean ports of Egypt and Israel and Haifa. So Israel's smart. I believe they were the one that started engineering this. And Israel knows from our days with Hamas that are still ongoing that the Houthis more than likely have a vast tunnel network and underground bunkers like Hamas. And they probably did it with hospitals and schools and civilian centers and stuff like that to use them as human shields. Remember, the Houthis are not the real official government of Yemen. It's sort of like Hezbollah with Lebanon, right? So Israel knows that this is a long, hard fight. The Houthis are 3.5 times roughly, more than 3 times bigger with the number of soldiers than Hamas. And the PIJ combined maybe got up to between 45,000 and 50,000. Houthis are 167,000. And you better believe other militia groups are coming in. The Houthis are raising and training 20,000 soldiers to invade Israel on the ground. Now, I don't know how they're going to do that unless Saudi Arabia says, yeah, I love you, come go march through Saudi Arabia and kill Israel, and wonder what Israel and America are going to do about that. But I don't know. I mean, that's what the Houthis are doing. How are they going to get them there? I don't know. Are they going to put them on boats? Israel sink the boats. I mean, I don't know what they're doing. But is it just they're barking at the moon and that kind of thing? Could be. Or it could be they're going to put a sword to the back of Saudi Arabia and tell them they're going to blow the smithereens out of the Aramco oil refinery, the largest one in Saudi Arabia, which they already attacked twice in the last year and a half successfully with missiles and damaged it. But they were doing it like 1 or 2 missiles. What if they shoot 20, 30 missiles at it? Could take the Saudis a year to finish it back up, or 6 months. Can you imagine oil prices spiking? See, there's a big economic war going on here. Iran said they intend to shut the Straits of Gibraltar and other places. We don't know what other places there are. The Houthis have shut the Red Sea pretty successfully. Iran will go after the Persian Gulf. Commerce in the world will be so crippled we wouldn't even know what hit us. The whole world. Europe will croak. Boats aren't going to get into the Mediterranean from the Atlantic unless somebody goes to war. You think the Europeans got the guts to go do this? They're going to have to. They're going to come to their knees if they don't. Now, Israel's approach with the land borders is unique and creative. And it just happened to work out, okay? Egypt's losing a lot of revenue from people paying tolls to go through the Suez Canal, which takes them from the Red Sea to the Mediterranean. And they're pretty far from the Houthis. And they're losing, I think, something like 20% of their country's income comes from those tolls. So they'll pick up tolls. They'll pick up money by working with this land bridge, as they're calling it. This thing's in gear, man. This land bridge is not something we're talking about next year. This is in play. They're getting ready to set it up. So Israel's going to have to use their modest navy to protect the Haifa port with their air force, and they can do that. Israel can do that. No problem. And nobody's coming around here with warships and stuff while the American fleet's running around here either. American fleet will get scared. They say, what, these crazy guys are coming here with warships? No, come on, we're not going to let that happen. Get out of here. It, there's only like, like two adversary countries that could really menace the American Navy, and that would be Russia and China. Will they do it? I doubt it. I doubt it. It's too far from home. I don't think they'll do it. If they start messing with Egypt, Egypt will freak out. They'll turn too. They'll start fighting. They get mad. You cut 20% of the nation's income off, they're hot as a pistol. They're not happy. They don't go for this. They're not the kind of Muslims that go for this. Let's go kill Israel and wipe it off the map at any cost. They don't go for that. That's not their game. You know? Things are going to get bad in the next few days. I don't think any of these axis of evil countries have any aircraft that's going to be able to take out these land bridges. That, the countries involved will protect the truck convoys. They'll send military vehicles with them, not tanks. Tanks chew up the road, they go slow. They'll send armored Humvees or not armored Humvees. They could fly helicopters overhead all the time, just refuel, change helicopters, so they could, make a convoy of 100 trucks and have 2 or 3 attack helicopters fly over their head. That, and a few Humvees with machine guns in the air. That's about all they need, And they go through the different countries, and they, the truck drivers rotate. One sleeps in the cab, the other drives, They're not going to be stopped by the CHP and ask for their logbook. This is, they're going to go around the clock, I think, And they'll be under military protection in every country. Nothing's going to happen to them. The Houthis will still keep it up if they can, because they know it's making the country suffer. And then the next country to get it is probably the Gibraltar Straits between Spain and Morocco. The IRGC soldiers from Iran are already operating in Morocco. Algiers, next door to the east, has already, the legislature's passed the thing that they're at war with Israel. All they need is the president to sign it, and is they're at war with Israel. So they'll, I'm sure, wind up helping Iran in Morocco. And it's a piece of cake to shut the straits. You could do it with artillery, for crying out loud. You could do it with any kind of crappy junk missiles. It's easy. So now America not only would have to invade the Houthis in Yemen, they would have to invade the Moroccans. So NATO's going to have to get involved, not just NATO, the whole EU. Or they're going to, do you know how bad it's going to be if they can't get goods in and out through the Mediterranean? That means Europe can't ship out through the Mediterranean. They can't receive in. Oh my gosh, I can't even imagine how bad that'll be. No, Beulah, not now. I don't have, no, not now. I don't know how bad it will be. I mean, we can't even imagine this. Hollywood never dealt with this. They should. It would make they'd sell a lot of tickets, but it's that bad. I think currencies will collapse. You might see gold hit $8,000 or $10,000. You might see silver at $150, $200. I don't know. I'm just throwing numbers around. I don't have any idea. I don't know. But it's quite serious. You could check all this stuff out in Google, and it's there, man. It's there. If the Houthis will attack the Dwight D. Eisenhower aircraft carrier group, which would be probably the most powerful group of Navy ships in the world, they attack them, they'll cut the internet cables, which I believe are the same as the SWIFT banking cables. My investigation made me think that. I'm pretty sure the ATM machines use internet cables, internet connections. Okay? So I'm pretty sure they're using this. And they said they're raising 20,000 soldiers to come invade Israel, attack Israel. They probably mean it. Our planes would cut them to smithereens. Would slice and dice them. There'd be nothing left of these people. If they came in a convoy, if they started sneaking them in, 20, 50 here and there, they might also have plans to help. I believe they intended to go help Hamas. So that would mean they would have to get into Egypt. Egypt to have a cow. If these characters who just cut their nation's income down by 20% say, hey man, we want to go walk through your country and go help Hamas. The Sisi guy in Israel who hates the Muslim Brotherhood, he'll go nuts. I mean, he'll tell them he'll burn them alive if they come in there. You know, he said he wouldn't let one Palestinian into Egypt, not one. He said it more than once, not a single Palestinian. And these guys want to come help the Palestinians and traverse through Egypt. I don't think that's going to work right now. So he puts a knife in the back of the Saudis, threatening to blow the oil fields up, and maybe they let him come through. But they'd be nuts if they tried to come through Saudi Arabia with 20,000 guys, or maybe in groups of 5,000, and invade us. It would be child's play. It would take a couple hours to blow 5,000 of them up, maybe an hour. We'd send a couple of dozen planes out there, and that's it. For a convoy to move, they need motor vehicles. They need roads. They're sitting ducks. How are you going to do it? You can't. So where are they going to do it? I don't know. I don't know how they're going to get in. Jordan? No, Jordan ain't letting them in. Got me on this one. I don't know. Maybe right now they're training the soldiers, so maybe they're training them, and then they're going to say, I hope I find a way to get them into Hamas and help in Gaza, but it doesn't look encouraging to me. But these guys will do anything. You got to understand. If they attack the Dwight D. Eisenhower, they'll do anything. Anything. You got to get that down. Anything. Russia wouldn't attack the Dwight D. Eisenhower. Nor would China. They'd be scared. I mean, why isn't America responding more aggressively? For the same reason, why is Biden leaving the border open with all this going on, with the FBI screaming bloody murder with terror alerts? It's obvious. Isn't it? Well, that's it for tonight. I hope you enjoyed this and got something out of it. And if you want to learn more about the Bible prophecy aspects of this, go to my YouTube channel and go into the live section. That's where the bulk of my videos are. And start poking around. A lot of these videos have news at the beginning, then the Bible studies. So you fast forward till you hit the Bible studies. Okay, the Bible studies are usually pretty well titled in the video title. You'd be able to tell what's there. So I send my shalom to all those who love Yeshua HaMashiach, and I'm going to sign off. And that's it. Thanks.